Haunting in the Backwoods. The shocking truth about a captain's dark secret at 3 a.m. The lantern flickered, casting eerie shadows against the trees like ghostly fingers reaching out from the underworld. Tension hung in the air, thick enough to strangle. It was 3 a.m., a time when secrets dared to crawl from their hiding places. In the heart of the Backwoods, Captain Ben Hollister stood at the edge of the murky lake, his breath coming out in ragged puffs as he gripped the dock rail like a lifeline. The silence was suffocating, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves as if the woods themselves were whispering a dark tale. Ben's heart hammered in his chest. The locals spoke in hushed tones about the lake, how on moonless nights, it would reveal its dark underbelly. Folks would tell you about the shapes lurking beneath the surface, about things that shouldn't be possible. Every time he entered the woods, an unsettling chill wrapped around him, as if the trees themselves held their breath, watching, waiting. And tonight felt different. His gut churned with dread. Just weeks before, Ben had found an old tattered map wedged between the pages of a dusty diary at the cabin. It spoke of a hidden treasure, but there were warnings, the kind that made the hair on the back of his neck stand up. Never dig too deep, it read ominously. He had brushed it off as mere folklore. But out here, with the swampy air shimmering in the flickers of the lantern, he was starting to wonder. Suddenly, a soft splash echoed across the lake. Ben whipped around, the clang of metal on wood echoed in his ears. No one was supposed to be out here. Every hair on his body stood on end. He wasn't alone. Shadows shifted behind the trees, dark and restless. A sense of dread settled in the pit of his stomach, the kind that made the world feel upside down. Could the tales be true? Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The wind howled, carrying an unsettling melody through the trees, and the shadows danced at the corner of his vision. Ben's heart raced. Was someone watching him? Or worse, was something waiting to be unleashed? The gentle lapping of the water now sounded like taunts. He felt the cool sweat trickle down his back, the weight of every ghostly story brushing against his skin, urging him to flee. But curiosity gnawed at him. What truth lay waiting beneath those dark waters? What was the captain hiding? He took a step closer, peering into the depths, the lake as black as the night sky. Just as he leaned over the edge, a scream pierced the silence, sharp and raw. Ben! He jerked back, panic flooding him. It was Clara, his sister, her face pale as the moonlight illuminated her. She pointed towards the trees, eyes wide. We have to go. Now. But his feet felt glued to the dock, dread swirling in the air around them. What were they running from? The shadows were thickening, encroaching with the kind of darkness that wrapped around the soul. What secret was buried there beneath the lake? And what had come with it, rising from the depths of the woods? Clara's breath came in sharp bursts, her eyes reflecting the fear that gripped her heart. Ben, please. We don't have time. His gaze darted to the trees, where the darkness seemed to pulse like a living thing. Shadows twisted and writhed, taunting him with their unknowable forms. Then he felt it, a suffocating pressure, as if the very forest demanded some unseen price for his presence. What is it? Ben demanded, stepping away from the dock's edge, though every instinct screamed at him to flee into the depths of the safety of his childhood home. What do you see? Her voice wavered as she whispered, the stories, they're real. There is something out there. Ben's heart raced, his thoughts fractured between fleeing with her or uncovering the truth that had haunted him like a vengeful ghost. The chilling splash from the lake echoed again, this time sharper, more insistent. Something was indeed moving beneath the surface, and it sensed them. With a sudden surge of defiance, Ben took a step toward the treeline, searching the creeping shadows. His every muscle tightened, adrenaline coursing through him. We can't leave without knowing. There is something we have to face. Stop. Clara's voice pierced through the weight of the moment. You don't know what you're dealing with. Her words struck like a slap, but the curiosity clawed at Ben's insides. Something was driving him. A need to confront whatever was lurking in the shadows. Unable to hold back, he drawled out, "If we don't find out now, we might never get the chance. Or we could end up paying the ultimate price." Just then there was a faint whispering sound, almost imperceptible, carried by the wind. It didn't sound human. The trees creaked as if sharing some ancient secret. Ben hesitated, eyes locked onto the mass of darkness looming before him. A flicker of a shadow darted past, catching the corner of his eye, a glimpse of something wrong. "I feel it too," Ben breathed, his voice shaky. Was it fear? Or anticipation? He remembered the map, the words warning him to never dig too deep. His eyes flared with determination. What lay beneath the lake? What unspeakable truths had been etched by time? "Stay close," he murmured to Clara, taking the first few steps into the dark shadows of the trees. The wind lashed against him, cold as ice, almost mocking. She hesitated but then followed, resolving to not abandon him to whatever specter awaited. The forest closed around them, gnarled roots beckoning like skeletal hands. Each step sent tremors through the ground, as if the earth itself was alive, whispering warnings of the deep. "It feels wrong," Clara whispered, her voice trembling. "Then we find out what's wrong," Ben insisted, pushing forward. The shadows began to thicken. The air turned oppressive. With every passing moment, the forest seemed to awaken, with branches snapping and unsettling rustles filling the dark. The lantern flickered violently, catching fleeting glimpses of faces, a nightmare conjured from the very depths of the lake. Ben's breath caught in his throat as an old, gnarled figure stepped from the shadows. It was a woman, her face shrouded, blending seamlessly into the dark. "You should not be here," she rasped, her voice gravelly and ancient. "What do you know?" Ben asked, heart pounding. "We seek the truth." The woman merely smiled, her lips quirking with a malice that twisted Ben's gut. "The truth? Oh, it's deeper than you can imagine." And then beneath the lake's chaos, the water began to churn violently, a warning echoing through the woods. What dark destiny was about to surface? As darkness clawed at their heels, Clara screamed one last time, "Ben, run!" But as adrenaline surged, Ben felt an unyielding pull toward the lake's edge, a gravitation toward the very truth that threatened to swallow them whole. What horrors lay in wait just beneath the surface? And would they drown in the secrets of the past? Ben's heart raced as the woman's words echoed ominously in his mind. "It's deeper than you can imagine." The lake's churning surface seemed to mock their fear, towering shadows casting a dance of chaos beneath the water. Clara's voice rang out again, louder now, a desperate plea that cut through the taut air. "Don't you dare!" she cried, gripping his arm tightly as he felt the pull of the lake more fiercely. "We have to go back." But something stronger than fear held him captive. An overwhelming urge propelled him closer to the water, a whisper of mystery nudging him forward. The old woman's aura of dark allure seeped into his bones, and he shook his head, trying to clear the fog clouding his judgment. With every step, the forest grew louder, branches snapping like twigs, rustling as if an unseen presence surrounded them. Clara's impatience bubbled over. "Ben! Now!" Unmoored, Ben glanced back at her. The lantern flickered, casting haunting shapes across Clara's face. The vibrancy in her eyes dimmed, fear solidifying into a palpable thing between them. "Clara, what if there's something here we've been missing all these years?" His voice trembled with a strange mix of hope and despair. Then came a crack like thunder. The lantern burst, a splash of light illuminating the dark for a fleeting second, revealing shapes darting through the trees, ghostly half-formed figures that sent chills racing down his spine. Were they shadows or something more? He felt trapped, ensnared by the dread gripping Clara as she pulled him back again. But the darkness felt so alive now, hungry, whispering secrets of their pasts, luring him deeper. "What are you afraid of, Clara?" "Ben, we can't just dive into the darkness. You don't know what waits for us there." Her voice became shrill, desperation clinging to every word. "I have to know." As if summoned by their burgeoning conflict, the lake bubbled violently, a dark figure surfacing and falling back beneath the waves. A ghastly shape, a gnarled hand reached up, breaking the stillness like glass shattering. "Ben, please," Clara begged. But Ben felt it too, the magnetic force pulling him back. "Look," he shouted, pointing to the disturbance. "It's calling us." Clara's eyes widened in horror, and for a brief moment, they were united in their shared confusion. What was rising from the waters? Then, all at once, the air thickened with screams and wailing whispers, the very essence of the woods screaming out against the truth about to be uncovered. The woman stepped closer, her gnarled fingers twitching in delight. You seek the heart of this tale. But can you bear the weight of its burden? Burden? Ben repeated, breath hitching. A mocking laugh erupted from the shadows, echoing all around them. Every story has a price, boy. Understand well, the past has claws that can reach where you least expect it. As if in response, something large and serpentine breached the water, shimmering in the weak moonlight. Its eyes glowed an unearthly green, locking onto Ben with an intensity that sent chills racing through him. No! Clara shrieked, dragging him back with all her strength, but it was too late. Ben's feet felt like lead, the truth surfacing and deep within him. He knew he was about to uncover a reality beyond anything he had ever imagined. What will you sacrifice to know the truth? The woman's voice slithered through his thoughts. Suddenly, the figure beneath the water appeared closer, widening the dark void where history tangled itself around secrets. The weight pressed down on Ben, and Clara's terrified expression anchored him, balancing the swirling tempest inside him. The lake beckoned, its secrets whispering, and he realized a choice had to be made as Ben opened his mouth to speak. The waters roared, drowning out his words. The world around them twisted, and both were plunged into chaos, standing on the brink of an unimaginable revelation. What unnamed horrors were they about to awaken? What deep, dark secret would the lake relinquish? Ben's breath caught in his throat. The lake roiled violently, a spiraling tempest reacting to their presence. Clara's grip tightened, her nails digging into his skin, but he hardly felt it. All he could focus on was the creature rising from the depths, a grotesque serpent emerging, slick and glistening. Its scales shimmered like broken glass, and the air was thick with an unnameable dread. As the creature's head breached the surface, revealing a maw lined with jagged teeth, Ben felt the pull of destiny tugging at him. Clara screamed again, but her voice melted into the cacophony of the fury around them. Something primal awakened in Ben at that moment, as if the very essence of the lake seeped into his bones. The whispers grew louder, sharper. Face what haunts you, they hissed, drowning out reason. He felt something ancient stirring within him, a pull towards the shrouded past he had so desperately tried to escape. Ben, please. Clara's voice was a lifeline, pulling him back to sanity. But that bond was fragile, stretched thin against the darkness that clamored for his attention. He tore his gaze from the creature to Clara's panicked face, searching for reassurance that he wasn't losing his mind. Was this some elaborate trick? The elusive promise of truth coaxed him forward as his heart thundered in his chest. What do you want from us? Ben shouted, his voice barely rising above the howl of the wind. The woman's laughter echoed in the back of his mind, ushers of impending doom. What's this burden you're speaking of? Without warning, an electrifying surge coursed through the water as the serpent surged closer. Eyes locked onto Ben, full of an intelligence that unnerved him. Within those fiery depths he saw visions of his childhood, a once innocent boy laughing on the lake with friends, unaware of a darkness lying just beneath the surface. Ben recoiled, memories colliding with the present. He recalled the stories whispered around campfires, the warnings of a captain who had gone missing years ago, tales of blood and betrayal tied to their very hometown. Captain Reynard, Ben exclaimed, piecing it together. The figure stealthily gliding across the forest surged to life in his mind, the crew lost to these unforgiving waters, consumed by their greed and anger, seeking vengeance for a shared fate. This lake, it's a prison. He gasped, realization slapping him hard. They're trapped here. Clara's grip loosened for a fleeting instant as her face turned ashen. What do you mean? What happened? People have been coming here for generations seeking treasure, but he struggled to suppress the fear threatening to overwhelm him. What if the treasure is them? They've been binding themselves to this place, cursed to haunt the waters forever. A darkness began to swirl around them, creeping closer as if responding to Ben's words. The shadows coalesced into a tangible force, whispering a sinister promise that tingled at the edge of his consciousness. Ben! Clara yanked him backward. Stop! You're calling it. But the whispers did not go unheard. The serpent spiraled, crashing against the shore, causing the earth to tremble beneath their feet. You must choose. Release them or join them. The woman's voice echoed in his mind, taunting him. Clara stumbled, her fear reflected in wide eyes. He grasped her arms, inhaling the sharp scent of adrenaline. We can't turn back now. We have to know. The waters surged, parting like curtains, revealing a shimmering glimpse of souls caught in despair beneath the lake, faces twisted in anguish, reaching for salvation yet bound to their fate. With the tempest at their feet and souls lingering in the air, Ben felt the weight of every decision pressing down on him. The line had blurred. If they stepped forward, would they find the truth or an irreversible damnation? Are you ready to confront your past? The voice surged, calling them to an unthinkable choice. The forest stood still, a wretched silence enveloping them as Ben stared into the depths of the lake, aware that his next move could unleash untold horrors. What awaited them beneath the surface? Would they uncover salvation? Or were they fated to join the curse chorus echoing through the trees? The serpent writhed, thrashing against the shoreline, its scales reflecting the dim light like shards of broken glass. Ben felt Clara's grip slipping away, his thoughts spiraling into chaos. He had to make a decision. The voices wove tightly around him, filling the air with a haunting melody of fate and regret. Release them or join them, the words echoed, a relentless loop that pulsed with urgency. A quick scan of the lake unveiled dark shapes skimming just below the surface, twisted faces etched with desperation, longing for light, for freedom, for anything but this haunting despair. Ben, listen. Clara's voice pierced through his frenzy. You're not just facing this for yourself. There are lives at stake. Images flooded through Ben's mind, fragments of lost souls, faces he vaguely recognized skimming across the dark waters, friends, classmates, all lost to the lure of treasure. He swallowed hard, dread tightening its grip around his throat. The stories whispered among campers were more than mere tales. They were warnings, and he felt the creeping realization clawing at his heart. The burden wasn't just on him. It was shared. What if we're their only hope? He whispered more to himself, trying to anchor himself against the chaos. Hope wasn't something he'd held for a long time. But in this moment, it flickered like a candle against the wind. The serpent lunged, snapping its jaws just inches from his face, water spraying in every direction. Clara yelped, pulling back, but Ben stood firm. If he ran now, he'd be running from everything: his fears, his past, and those souls crying out for salvation. Enough! He shouted, clenching his fists by his sides. The wind howled louder, almost a response to his defiance. If you want me to face my past, then let it come. I won't back down. At that moment the creature halted, its fierce eyes searching Ben's resolve. Clara stared at him, a mix of fear and fierce admiration etched across her features. He felt something shift in the atmosphere, a balance of power teetering between his fear and that of the serpent's hunger. Suddenly the faces beneath the water surged upward, reaching with ghostly limbs and wild eyes, trying to pull Ben into their cold embrace. His heart raced as he discerned their tortured cries. They weren't just asking for help. They were warning him of a darker truth, an ominous pact that begged to be revealed. Ben, we have to do something, Clara shouted, fear cracking her voice. Panic ignited within him, but he couldn't let it consume him. The serpent circled them, a sentinel guarding secrets too grave to fathom. What were their sins, Clara? He called out, his voice steadying even as his heart revved like a freight train. What keeps them here? The captain's greed. Clara's voice trembled. He betrayed his crew, dooming them all. Ben felt the warmth of her words wrap around him, resolving his frayed nerves. He dropped to his knees on the bank, eyes trained on the restless waters. If you're haunted by betrayal, he cried, heart heavy yet hopeful, then let us hear your truth. We're not here to take anything from you. With those words the wind howled as the serpent drew back, eyes luminous and expectant. The otherworldly tension thickened, as if time itself shuddered to a halt. Ben could almost hear the heartbeat of the lake, echoing his own. Above them darkened clouds rolled in, casting a pall over the landscape. The lake splintered into mirrors of reality, showing not just the lost souls, but fragments of betrayal, anguish, and sorrow. The legends wove together, tales of gold turning to stone. Let us be free, the whisper drifted through the air, a mournful plea that entwined with the storm, carrying the weight of centuries. Ben stood, feeling the tempest swirl around him. I will not run from you. Just show us. The lake erupted, and he was thrust into an avalanche of icy desperation. The truth awaited at the bottom, nestled beneath the sinuous depths, daring him to forge ahead. What revelations would greet him? What shapes would rise from the shadows to tell their tales? Ben. Clara's voice cut through the chaos, but he stood anchored. He would know. He had to know. With a lurch in his gut, he took a step back, preparing to burst through the icy veil that shielded the drowned secrets of Captain Reynard. And in doing so, would he find release or would it consume him whole? The wind screamed with fury, and he plunged into the water, a fateful choice pulling him deeper into the darkness. The icy water wrapped around Ben, enveloping him like a suffocating blanket. His lungs screamed for air, but curiosity drove him further into the depths. The murky darkness was alive, swirling with distorted shapes and flashes of pale faces twisting in agony. Clara's voice echoed, a distant plea that floated on the surface above him. Ben, come back. But he was beyond reach, beyond fear. A single thought gripped him. He must understand. As he plunged deeper, time warped. Moments of clarity pierced the murk. Visions of the captain emerged, looming over his crew with a gleaming treasure map clutched in his hand. Laughter danced over the waves, but it morphed into a sinister symphony of betrayal. Ben's heart raced as he floated through a spectral tableau, watching the reflections of the past collide with the anguish of the present. The captain's greed transformed him into a monster. His crew, a handful of desperate souls, spiraled into madness, eyes wide with horror as their lives were claimed one by one. Greed is a curse, one ghostly figure rasped, his matted hair floating around him like kelp. It binds us, shackles our souls to this cursed lake. Ben's chest tightened as wrenching guilt gnawed at him. He felt the weight of the drowning lives around him, weightless yet suffocating. It was as if the lake itself spoke. If he didn't break the cycle, he too would succumb to its curse. What was it about humanity that drove someone to forsake their own in pursuit of wealth? The serpent loomed near, its scales reflecting the horrors unfolding beneath the surface. Join them or release them, it hissed. Every syllable dripped with menace. The fate of these souls rested in Ben's trembling hands. Ben swam closer to one of the specters. What can I do? How can I help you? Each strained word felt like a stone thrown against the relentless tide. Reveal the truth, the ghost cried, his voice like ice against Ben's skin. Free us from the shackles of his greed. Expose the captain's betrayal. With a surge of determination, Ben surged upward toward the thundering waves, desperately clawing for air. The swirling water became a violent tempest as the storm above mirrored the chaos within. He breached the surface, gasping, light flooding his vision. Clara's terrified face was the first thing he saw. Ben, she screamed, scrambling toward him. You were gone. You have to listen. He spluttered, fighting to regain his breath. The water dripped from his hair, pooling around him, heavy with the weight of their shared fear. The captain, he betrayed his crew. They're trapped here because of his greed. The serpent circled, its beady eyes locked onto Ben. Unravel the thread of fate, it boomed, its voice rumbling like distant thunder. Only then can peace be granted. He blinked at Clara, who stood on the verge of panic. How do we unweave something so tangled? She asked, her voice quivering like the branches in the wind. Maybe the key lies in the old legends. Ben recalled the stories overheard by the campfire, fragments mingling with the ghosts of their past. The treasure, the map, if we can find it, maybe we can expose the truth. Clara's eyes widened. But where? The captain's shipwreck is almost a myth. The ground trembled beneath their feet as the lake roared. Seek the depths of despair, the serpent hissed, sending shivers racing down Ben's spine. There lies the truth. Fear and determination entwined in Ben's chest like a vice. The realities seemed to tangle, and each new revelation only deepened the mystery. Clara took Ben's hand, squeezing tightly. Then we'll dig it out together. He looked into her eyes, a flicker of hope igniting within. Together. But as they turned to leave, the waters surged, shadows of the lost swarming at their feet, cries rising. The past doesn't rest, and neither will we. Ben wheeled, a realization crashing over him. If he wanted to uncover the truth and save those trapped souls, he would have to face the wrath of a captain long dead. Can we truly face the weight of the past? The storm thundered, and the surface erupted, revealing submerged horrors lurking just beneath. masking the darkest secrets yet to be unveiled. With uncertainty trailing in their wake, Ben and Clara plunged back toward the heart of the mighty lake, with the truth of greed and betrayal awaiting them in its dark embrace. The depths swallowed them once more, darkness closing around Ben and Clara as they descended into a chilling abyss. Each stroke felt heavier than the last, the water pulling them down like an anchor. Shadows darted around them, the phantoms tightening their grip, desperate for release as they pushed deeper. A sudden chill pierced through Ben's bones. Clara clutched his arm tightly, her eyes wide with fear. He sensed her heartbeat quicken, matching his own. They had to find the shipwreck. The old legends whispered of treasures buried under the weight of betrayal. But what would they even find? Answers? Or more nightmares? The light from the surface faded into an inky blackness as they clung to the hope of truth. Ahead, a dim light flickered like a dying star. It pulsed gently, almost invitingly, amid the chaos of the water swirling around them. The shadows recoiled but left a path open, as if the darkness itself feared whatever lay before them. They swam toward the light, feeling a current pull them, guiding them like a compass. Terror clashed with anticipation. What if it's a trap? Clara's voice trembled, slashing through the silence. It's our only choice, Ben urged, determination igniting his resolve. With each stroke, they fought against the tightening grip of despair, the pressure of the lake's anguish pushing in on them from all sides. Finally, they emerged into a clearing. An eerie underwater grove revealed itself, illuminated by ghostly bioluminescent plants swaying gently in the current. In the center lay the remnants of a sunken ship, mired in shadows and creeping tendrils of darkness. The figurehead grinned mockingly, its gaze seeming to follow them as they approached. This was it, the captain's ship, but as they drew closer, the air thick with dread turned electric. Weeds clutched at their ankles, alive and insistent, as if trying to drag them away from the truth. We need to find the map. Ben squeezed Clara's hand. It has to be here. Suddenly, a devastating roar erupted from the shipwreck, shaking the water and sending swarms of translucent shapes scattering into the depths. The captain's ghost emerged, wisps of his former glory wrapped around him, face twisted with rage. You shouldn't be here, he bellowed, voice echoing like thunder in their ears. This treasure belongs to the curse. Ben struggled to stay anchored, heart pounding as the specter loomed closer, eyes burning with wrath and sorrow. We're here to uncover the truth, he shouted back, defiance bubbling within him. To release those you've betrayed. The captain hesitated, a flicker of doubt crossing his spectral features. You think the truth will save you? The map is not just a key, it's a binding chain. Clara's eyes widened. We must break the chains, Ben. They're tied to this man's greed. She looked between the captain and the writhing darkness, determination shining fiercely. Just then, a quick rush of water displaced the shadows. Beneath the ship, a glint of metal caught Ben's chest, almost like it was begging to be opened. The map! He gasped, and without thinking he lunged toward it. No! The captain screamed, his visage twisting into a horrific snarl. You'll unleash horrors beyond imagination. Ben's world narrowed down to that chest. There was no turning back now. Ignoring the frantic warnings, he reached out, hand plunging into the crusted darkness. With a burst of energy, he pried the lid open. The world shattered around them. An explosion of light engulfed the scene, swirls of memories crashing into him like tidal waves of truth, unraveling everything Ben thought he knew. In that moment of brilliance, the weight of history and the screams of the past collided, and the terrifying reality breached the surface. Ben, what did you do? Clara's voice rang out, heavy with panic, swallowed by the echoing chaos. With the truth hanging in the balance, the shadows began to close in once more. Shadows of the damned, souls clawing to be free, and the dark truth he had unleashed hovered in the depths like a storm waiting to burst. What grotesque revelations awaited them? Would the truth truly set them free? Or would it only deepen their descent into madness? With breath held tight, they braced for the darkness to come. The blinding light clawed at their eyes, washing over them like a wave crashing against the shore. Memories swirled, fragments of the past rushing forth from the chest like ethereal ghosts desperate to be seen. Ben grasped Clara's hand tightly, their fingers entwined, grounding them in the chaos of the sudden luminosity. Hold on! He shouted over the rising tumult. Shadows writhed and hissed around them, furious at their intrusion. Each spectral face reflected anguish, betrayal, and a deep-seated hunger for revenge, all directed at the captain. Clara turned her head, absorbing the torrent of sorrow that erupted from every corner of the depths. Each whisper cut through her mind. "Release us, release him." The captain stood firm, his spectral form quivering under the onslaught of memories unleashed. They showed him his treachery, the very betrayal that had bound him to this cursed existence. His expression contorted from fury to confusion as he glimpsed his own past lives lost, souls ensnared, a legacy of darkness. "Stop it! You don't understand!" he screamed, his voice shaking the waters around them. "I am bound by my choices. The chains are tighter than they seem." Ben felt the pressure of that haunting truth settle heavily in his chest. "What did you do?" he demanded, stepping forward. There was no backing down now. The pieces of the puzzle were asking to be assembled, and he was ready to see the picture before the captain could respond. The luminescent glow twisted, illuminating a hidden alcove within the wreck. Silently, a shimmer of gold caught Ben's eye. A gilded compass floated there, wrapped in chains, radiating a darkness that was both mesmerizing and fearsome. "That's it!" Clara shouted, excitement mingling with fear. The compass must be the key to everything. As they moved closer, tendrils of darkness lunged at them, snapping with bitter cold. The spirits of the damned recoiled, choking on their own fear. They surged toward the golden compass, as if it held the promise of salvation. "Ben, we need to take it," Clara urged, determination etched across her face, but trepidation lingered in her eyes. "What if it leads us into another trap?" Ben's heart raced. "We have to trust it. The captain is tied to this compass too. It's all intertwined." With a deep breath, he kicked forward, pulling Clara along as they reached for the compass. The moment their fingers brushed against its surface, a violent tremor shook the water. The captain's anguished howl echoed all around them, and the shadows shrieked in protest. "Flee! You risk awakening something far worse." But it was too late. A fissure opened beneath their feet, sending a wave of pressure crashing through the grove. Ben could feel the darkness clawing at him, trying to drag him down as memories spilled out like dark ink, threatening to engulf them in a tide of desperation and despair. "Clara!" he yelled, fear jolting through him. "We have to get out of here." Clara held the compass tightly, its energy pulsing against her skin. "It's our only hope," she shouted back, voice trembling with urgency. As they struggled against the chaos, they could see the specters becoming frantic, scrambling toward the light. The captain roared, a mixture of fury and sorrow echoing through the depths, drowning out the cries of the lost souls. But just as Ben felt hope slipping through his fingers, the compass connected with the fabric of reality, warping the dimensions around them. A bright flash of golden light erupted, leaving their surroundings arched and warped, as if the fabric of time itself was unraveling. Together, Ben. In that very moment they understood. They couldn't fight the shadows alone. They had to embrace the truth together. The darkness surged toward them, a relentless tide seeking to flood them with despair. As they held onto the compass, they desperately wished for the answers, ready to confront the truth, no matter how terrifying it was. Would the compass guide them to freedom or seal their fate forever? The abyss beneath their feet quaked, and as they spiraled into the depths of uncertainty, they braced for the ultimate reckoning. What awaited them beyond the threshold of truth? Would they be strong enough to face the consequences? The world twisted violently around them, colors bleeding into one another like wet paint on canvas. An overwhelming rush of energy swept through Ben and Clara, grounding them for a mere heartbeat in the chaos. With the compass clutched in Clara's trembling hands, they felt the intensity skyrocket, igniting something ancient within the fissures of the wreck. "Ben, it's pulling us!" Clara screamed, the fear in her voice palpable as the pull of the compass became more insistent, its dark chains rattling ominously. "I know," he shouted back, but his heart raced for a different reason. Shapes formed in the roiling shadows, teeth bared, eyes alight with a hunger that sent chills racing down his spine. As they spiraled deeper, all Ben could think of was escape. But how? The weight of despair crashed down on them, ensnaring their limbs, their very thoughts. He caught a glimpse of the captain, his face twisted in eternal torment, clinging to his past like a drowning man. "Ben, the stories, they're all true. The captain's voice cut through the clamor. Raw with desperation, it was never just about treasure. Before Ben could process what that meant, the compass began to glow, casting shadows across the watery walls of their sinking fate. The glow brightened, revealing a distorted image of the past ships ablaze. Men screaming, faces twisted in agony, all tied together by a single thread. The betrayal ran deep, bound to the captain's every choice. "What did you do?" Ben yelled, grappling with the horror unveiling before his eyes. An alliance forged in blood, to survive. But it all went wrong, the captain rasped, tears shining in his ethereal form. "I wanted power. I didn't think. I sacrificed them." The air thickened with regret and bitterness, and Clara's voice quivered as she reached out. "We can help you find peace, but we need to understand what you unleashed." The shadows writhed, emboldened by the desperation of the captain. A formless mass surged forward, tendrils snaking around them, threatening to pull them into the abyss. "No," Clara cried, gripping the compass tighter. "Ben, we must break the chain. We need to make it right." "Make it right?" he retorted, panic swelling in his chest. It might be too late for that. Yet, even as dread seeped into his bones, an ember of hope flickered within him. Beneath the crushing despair, a spark of understanding lit the compass, illuminating ancient inscriptions, arcane symbols of freedom and retribution intertwined. The moment Clara spoke the words inscribed, the darkness trembled. "Release the souls trapped here. Find the truth. Unravel the pain." As those words echoed through the water, the compass pulsed with brilliant light, and the shadows hesitated. The dark tendrils began to retreat, hissing in anguish. Somewhere deep within the swirling chaos, the captain's despair transformed into a torrent of clarity. "I was wrong. I was foolish." The admission ripped through him, shaking the very foundation of the depths. "But I don't know how to fix it. Help me." In an instant, Clara and Ben shared a glance that spoke volumes. They had to push through together, focusing on the compass and the captain's shattered past. But just then the glowing compass flickered, as if sensing their uncertain resolve. With a resolute breath, Clara shouted, "We need to face the truth. We have to confront what's been done." The atmosphere shifted, the fabric of time spiraling around them, revealing a landscape painted in depths of sorrow and light echoes of battles lost and redemption sought. But before they could immerse fully, the shadows lunged, snatching at Clara's arm, dragging her toward the darkness. "Clara!" Ben cried, reaching desperately for her. But the space between them stretched like an endless void. "You must believe," she shouted, a fierce determination igniting in her gaze. The compass glowed brighter, reflecting their intertwined destinies, brimming with both hope and peril. Would they seize this moment to unveil the truth? Or would the shadows reclaim what was rightfully theirs? The struggle intensified, but one thing remained certain. Everything they feared and desired was about to collide in a cataclysm unlike anything they could imagine. What lay beneath the surface was only a breath away, and they were on the brink of unveiling it all, a revelation that could either shatter their souls or set them free. Would they embrace the chaos or be consumed by it? The choice hovered above them like an omen waiting to be claimed. The darkness roared around them, pulling fiercely at Clara as Ben fought against the oppressive shadows, desperation surging through him. "Hold on!" he shouted, reaching for Clara with everything he had. She struggled, yet there was strength in her eyes, a flicker of resolve. "Trust the compass," she yelled back, her voice strong amidst the chaos. In that moment something shifted. The very water shivered as the compass blazed with brilliance, unleashing a wave of golden light that crashed against the dark. The tendrils recoiled, shrieking, the echoes of lost souls rising like a haunting chorus. The captain's form flickered, and for the first time, uncertainty crept into his eyes. "You can break the curse," he rasped, "but it will demand everything." Ben could barely breathe. What does that even mean? But Clara's grip on the compass tightened. Armed with their shared courage, they faced the shadows together. "We can do this," she reassured him, and he nodded, feeling the weight of their bond anchoring them against the storm. "Free us!" the shadows cried out, the voices entwined in agony and hope. "Free us from the captain's betrayal." With a deep breath, Ben shouted, "Then show us the truth. Show us how we can save you." The compass pulsed, radiating warmth, and Clara matched the energy with her own fierce will. A storm erupted, a swirling vortex of light and darkness, as if reality was bending to their will. The waters whirled and memories surged forth, past shadows caught in an eternal struggle. Each whispered tale painted the captain's greed and regret, intertwining their paths. The captain's face twisted with anguish. I was driven by fear. I sacrificed them, but I wanted power. It consumed me. A sudden quiet enveloped them, a pause in the chaos that felt surreal, and Ben felt an overwhelming empathy blanket him. Your fear doesn't define you, Clara urged, her voice echoing like a beacon. You can still choose. The shimmering light illuminated their surroundings, casting spectral faces into relief. The captain staggered, eyes wide with sorrow and realization. Is it true? Can I still make amends? Ben stepped forward. Together, let us uncover where your betrayal began. You must face what you've done. As if answering the call, the compass shot forth a beam of light toward the depths, revealing a torn tapestry of memories. Voices echoed softly. You must choose loyalty over greed. The treasure was nothing without them. The captain nodded, a weary acceptance etched on his features. I buried their souls beneath my greed. I need to set them free. But I fear what the truth will cost. Pain laced his words, yet beneath it shimmered a sense of hope. With Clara by his side, Ben felt the weight of the moment thickening with purpose. We stand with you, Ben said, drawing strength from Clara's presence. Together we confront the past. The shadows writhed, furious at their boldness, but the golden light intensified, urging them forward. Face your crew. Let their voices guide you home. Clara called out, her voice unwavering. And then a powerful force erupted. The compass shattered the chains binding the lost souls. Light flooded the depths, hearts once heavy with sorrow now illuminated. Clara and Ben watched as ethereal figures emerged, their faces transforming from agony to relief. Thank you, came the whispers, swelling in number as they surrounded the captain, lifting him from the darkness. Tears streamed down the captain's face, and he turned to Ben and Clara, gratitude shining through his spectral form. Thank you for freeing us all, he said softly, finally unearthing the fragments of his soul lost to time. Your courage, your bond, it broke my chains. And at that moment the twisting shadows began to dissolve, a heavy weight releasing its grip on the lake, sending ripples soaring to the surface. A deep stillness settled around them, one that promised healing. We can finally rest, the captain murmured, and with a final gesture, he stepped into the light, joining the spirits of his crew as the darkness receded like a bad dream. The abyss around Ben and Clara, transformed clear waters, now shimmered, reflecting the dawn that began to break upon the horizon. The weight of the past lifted from their shoulders, making way for the promise of a brighter future. Ben looked at Clara, his heart swelling with pride. We did it, he breathed, knowing they had confronted the horrors of the past and transformed them into light. As they emerged from the lake, drenched yet unburdened, Clara turned to him with a smile. Home? She asked, echoing the hope that blossomed within. Together, he affirmed, and felt it resonate far deeper than mere words. With the sun rising behind them, illuminating the woods in golden hues, they walked back through the forest, knowing they had not only uncovered a haunting tale, but woven a legacy of courage, connection, and redemption. The trees whispered in approval as laughter filled the air, a blend of freedom and relief, a promise echoing through the backwoods. Now it's your turn to keep this story alive. Subscribe immediately to our channel, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now and feed the algorithm, letting everyone know this journey matters. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. We want to hear you. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Let us spread the truth together.